Former United States Ambassador Jon Evans will be giving an interview to Public TV tonight. Mr. Evans, thank you so much for this opportunity. Mr. Evans, the road to Nagorno-Karabakh has been blockaded for more than 2 months now. About 120,000 Artsaksis are blocked inside Artsakh. There are sporadic cutoffs of gas and electricity, as well as shortage of food and medical supplies. And so Baku has turned a deaf ear to even the United States calls to lift the blockade. Will there be sanctions?
Astղիկ, thank you for this invitation. I could not answer your question accurately because I don't know what the future will hold. I can say this, though, that not only here in Washington, but I believe around the whole world, people have been watching with alarm as this blockade has gone now into its 64th day. There are so many voices that have been raised from Australia to France to the United States, which you would expect, but also in many other places. So it's not as if no one has seen or heard what is going on, what various governments and organizations may do or have done. We can't say exactly. There's a lot of diplomatic discussion that takes place, of course, out of sight and out of our hearing. So we don't know what communications there may have been between various capitals. I think we have to wait and see. But everybody, more and more, with every day, people are aware of what's happening and consequently most upset and alarmed.
Mr. Evans, are you saying that, in your opinion, if the blockade continues for more and the situation gets harsher, the United States might step beyond calls?
I don't know. I really can't say exactly what has been said, what has been decided, or what may happen. I do believe that the situation is taken very seriously in Washington and other capitals, however.
Then why do you think that the United States have not imposed or implemented sanctions so far?
I think it's a combination of things. First of all, the number one problem on the table right now is the war in Ukraine. And so a great deal of diplomatic activity concerns that. There's also and there are sanctions involved in that situation. What sanctions might exactly be imposed, one can speculate. There are also legal actions that could be taken by the U.S. Congress. And I would say that that is probably the most likely origin of any kind of sanctions. But what people mostly want to see is, first of all, saving the people of Nagorno-Karabakh, of Artsakh, putting the people first and trying to stop this horrible situation, bring it to an end. I think that's by whatever means are possible.
Which is impossible without lifting the blockade, though. The United States keeps providing military support to Azerbaijan, and if Baku keeps ignoring the U.S. calls to lift the blockade and withdraw its troops from Armenian sovereign territory, do you believe that the U.S. will, or perhaps should, curb military aid to Azerbaijan?
I've been very clear in my own view. I believe that on the very same day that President Biden recognized belatedly the Armenian genocide in April of his first year in office, at the very same time, the waiver of Section 907 of the Freedom Support Act should have been rescinded. And it was not. It was continued. I think that would have been the perfect time to stop these arms shipments. I must say that the United States has always insisted that its military cooperation with Azerbaijan was conditioned on the premise that such arms and assistance would not be used against the people of Karabakh. There's been a lot of assistance, for example, to the naval forces of Azerbaijan on the sea, but one never knows because money is fungible, and so I have all along believed that this waiver should be rescinded. That would be a kind of sanction.
Aliyev said Nagorno-Karabakh Armenians will have the same rights as the other citizens of Azerbaijan. On the ground, however, Baku has condemned Artsaksis to hunger and basically cold. Do you believe it is realistic for native Armenians to live under Baku regime that has demonstrated that wants them out of Artsakh?
We've all heard what the people of Artsakh have said again and again, and what Ruben Vardanyan has recently said, that it's not possible for the people of Artsakh to live directly under Baku's rule. Now, I also understand that for a long-term solution of the problem, there are going to have to be compromises on both sides. And I know that the United States government does not consider this issue finished. There is no long-term peace agreement, and we believe that should be arrived at, and by peaceful means, not by any further use of force.
Mr. Evans, Russia stated its vision of resolving the NK conflict the following way. Russian peacekeepers get to stay on the ground, and the status of Nagorno-Karabakh is left for the future to be decided. So basically, what Russia is offering is a frozen conflict. What, in your opinion, is the United States' approach to resolving the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, because it is less popularized, let me put it this way?
For a long time, of course, the United States supported the Minsk group process. And of course, we were one of the three mediating powers. Unfortunately, that process has been interrupted by the violence that came in 2020. And although we have appointed a new mediator recently, Mr. Louis Bono, who's very experienced and promises to be very active, I think always in foreign policy, it's a question of what are the alternatives. One cannot always get the best solution. One has to get, all politics is the art of the possible, and that's true also of diplomacy. But at the moment, I think the number one issue has to be the people of Artsakh and being sure that they are not starving or freezing in the conditions of the blockade.
You mentioned the Minsk group. It was the platform for negotiations of the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict for many years. But now, with the Minsk group currently out of the way, Baku tries to resolve, so to speak, the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict in the crudest manner possible by starving and also by making the people of Nagorno-Karabakh to face cold in the midst of a harsh winter. Do you believe in the resurrection of the Minsk group, or do you see an alternative to it?
I would put it this way. The original Minsk group, the way it was working, as you said, has been put to the side. But the basic principles that underlay the Minsk group process, first of all, that the problem should be solved not by violence, but by peaceful means. That's the number one requisite. And in addition, the other principles of self-determination and territorial integrity need to be taken into account, but at the same time. Now, it's a tough recipe. You mentioned the Russian proposal, and it is important at this stage that the Russian peacekeepers should be there. But we know that the mandate of those peacekeepers could expire in less than 3 years. So I think the requirement that this problem be at least solved as best it can, that requirement is very urgent at this point.
Peace negotiations between Armenia and Azerbaijan have come to what looks like an impasse over the very blockade that we have been discussing, how to exit it. How can the U.S., in your opinion, help exit this situation?
I don't think one should look only to the United States in this connection. The entire world community, particularly centered on Europe, is very concerned about it as well. Now, it's true that the means being applied have been mainly diplomatic. There's not going to be any, the US Marines are not going to arrive and save the situation. I would hope that the authorities in Baku would realize that they're dealing with a very important situation here. And if they mishandle it, the consequences for their own policies and their reputation will be badly injured.
Mr. Evans, how can Armenia become a more valuable partner to the United States? Do you believe in the deepening of the relations between these two countries on the common ground of democracy, for example, or within the frame of deepening relations in the economic sphere, in diplomatic efforts, you name it?
I think all of those things are, first of all, Armenia is already a valued partner and will become a more valued partner with time. I think it's a combination of the affinity that we feel because of values and various other things, and the fact that we have one of the largest diaspora populations in the world, along with the Russians, I must add. So I think the prospects are very good for improved relations. But at the moment, I do realize that Armenia's need is for greater security, and that is hard in a difficult neighborhood.
Exactly. I was going to ask, do you see an opportunity of adding the strategic component to the U.S.-Armenian relations as long as Armenia is a CSTO member?
I don't think that the membership of the CSTO is the only question here. I think it's also a question of distance and many other things. I think Armenia already is a valued partner, and there is a strategic dialogue that we conduct. Strategy does not mean only military cooperation. There is some of that too, particularly with assistance to through the Oklahoma National Guard. Kansas, I mean. But I don't think that Armenia should be looking only to the United States here. I do think that the role of Russia is still very important. Russia, of course, has her hands full right now with the war in Ukraine, but it is only Russia that has been able to put a peacekeeping force in the area. Now, I know that Brussels, the European Union, is also going to be sending monitors to Armenia, and that's undoubtedly a good thing.
Mr. Evans, are you saying that the South Caucasus is not a region of priority to the United States and we should be looking to Russia, or did I get you wrong?
I think it's all relative. It's an important area for us, without doubt. But still, Russia plays a particular role in the area. And I'm very disappointed to hear that the Russian peacekeepers may not have been doing all that's necessary, because my experience has been that they really are peacekeepers and that they try to do the best to avoid bloodshed.
Mr. Evans, Bush administration cut short your tour of duty after you publicly described the 1915 Armenian massacres in Ottoman Turkey as genocide. Now that the Biden administration have officially recognized the genocide, and so one might say the reason of your leaving politics has been removed, are you considering going back to active politics?
The short answer is no. I'm now on pension. I very much keep up with events as best I can, reading the news, getting up in the middle of the night, in fact, to be sure to catch the latest developments, and I comment on them. I'm free to do that now, And I hope that my comments at least are not harmful.
Mr. Evans, do you have a message for the people in Artsakh who are in this predicament right now?
Yes, we love you, we respect you, and we wish you the very, very best. We hope that this situation with the blockade will shortly end, and after that, that there will be some progress towards a comprehensive and lasting peace settlement.
Thank you so much.
And thank you.
Former United States Ambassador to Armenia, Ջոն Էվանսի, gave me an interview tonight.